When I first went to TED Ed, I was asked this question. If you knew you could not fail, what would you do? So, I wrote my answer in marker and stuck it on the big red cloud for TED Ed on the wall. I saw so many different things on the wall, from stopping gun violence to stopping smoking. But I couldn't imagine a world where everything is perfect. I couldn't imagine no mistakes. What would you do if you were perfect? Would you stop world hunger, gun violence, or smoking? There's such a variety of things that are possible, but what would you do? It might seem like the world would be so much better if everybody was perfect. The thing is, though, if everything was perfect, would you need to do anything? This thought of mine came from a short book I read in second grade, and even though I don't remember the title, it was about a boy who was reading a book on how to become perfect. At the end of the book the boy was reading told him to sit on the floor for 24 hours without eating, sleeping, or doing anything. Just sitting there doing nothing. The boy soon realized that becoming perfect was impossible. You just couldn't do it. Think if you've ever thought you could become perfect. For those of you, this would be a yes. And for those of you, I bet some of you have had a hard time when you realized you couldn't become perfect. This might be because it might not seem to be a big deal, but being perfect is entirely different than what it is now in the world. Even if what is said in the book isn't an accurate statement of what perfection is, it is still much different. That's when I realized maybe we can't get to the edge of the universe or anything else like that. But with the best technologies, we can make ourselves perfect, or at least in concept. Robots do our work, and we can just do nothing. That's perfection in the view of many people. But that point of view has already gone too far because robots would be replacing us. Robots replacing us is far from being perfect. So let's back up a second. Robots are out of the picture. So being perfect in the point of view of technology is not having to do anything. That's the idea that is being promoted in the book, that being perfect is not having to do anything. But if we're not doing anything, we're not achieving anything. So what is being perfect? So maybe we can't exactly explain being perfect because nobody, not one person ever to exist can exactly explain perfection. We can't say that we were perfect. We can't say that we can solve every single problem on earth. We can only live within our imperfection and one day hope we can improve and solve the problems we have now. And now we know the main point of the world around us. We can't become perfect. We can imagine ourselves being perfect, but we can't get to that point. We can work hard though, and in the absence of perfection, at least we can try really hard to make our world better. We can create ways to make it better, and we can work with others to bring the plans out. From gun violence to smoking, we can solve them by working with other people, creating debates, like this TED Talk, and working with higher levels of society to solve these problems. We have enough already to make the world perfect, but conflicts and other problems among us in the past have changed that. We can't go back to change those things. We can just be optimistic for the future. In one book I read one time, I forgot the title again, one of the scenes showed one of the characters watching a snail crawl up the side of the house. The character stated that the snail was not giving up, that it would not give up and go home. It wanted to get up the wall, and that reminded me of something. Even if we can't do something, we can always keep trying. We don't just give up and stop trying to do something. We can always work to make whatever we want possible. And if people strive to be perfect, they won't just give up and go home. They'll keep going until they get there. The thing is, should we become perfect? It could cause problems among us. In a book I read in ELP called The Giver, Jonas lives in a society where everything thinkable that can cause problems is forcefully eliminated. However, in exchange for that, the people can't live in a world of colors at all, much less be unique. Because of this, it's not a happy place to live. The thing is Jonas's community considered perfect? If it is, it would make being perfect much more difficult, a frontier to get to, because Jonas's community is not perfect in terms of the people's feelings. And even if all of the problems are solved in this way, it wouldn't be a happy place to live. So if it was considered perfect, then the society would be to strive for, and apparently it's not a good place to live. So maybe being perfect is a distant concept for now, but we're starting to get ideas for perfect communities. The thing is though, are we in a state right now, as a huge complex world, to adapt to a perfect community? I think personally we might be too deep in conflicts now to be able to adapt to perfection. That shows us where we are now in society. We have so many problems around the world currently, and we aren't putting much effort into fixing them. It's a loss for us that our world is plunging deeper and deeper into conflicts. We are capable of solving these problems, but we use our money and effort on other things. How selfish we are. We need to put effort in our work. We need to imagine a future of greatness, a future of us living bright, magnificent lives. We need to imagine success, just not expect it to come right at the moment. If we can solve these problems, we can have among us an we are in for a bright future. The reason I value a great world so highly is because of my one and only fear, the future. In the book The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury, the short stories in the book consist of people fleeing to Mars from a completely destroyed Earth. The Earth in the stories was destroyed by a gigantic nuclear war. This is what could happen from conflicts in the future. The book shows us how humanity could perish because of big conflicts, so that means we need to make sure we don't end ourselves. We can control our fate, and we can control how we work as a society to live in a changing world. The people weren't perfect in any of these examples, and our concept of being perfect now is so distant we can't exactly imagine it. But our spirit shouldn't be destroyed. We shouldn't give up and let ourselves fall into deep conflict with each other. We can keep working for a bright future, solve our conflicts, get into a state where we can survive as humanity